Hey, thanks for joining me. I'm Brandon Lee. This video is going to be all about the new Insta360 Flow 2. This is a gimbal for smartphones with AI tracking and a bunch of other new features. The Insta360 Pro 2 gimbal for smartphones has much improved AI tracking, along with a foldable design, extendable built-in selfie stick, which can be angled for special shots. There's a selfie mirror, a Magsafe quick release mount, which becomes a rotatable kickstand, plus built-in mini tripod feet. All right, so let's get started by testing out the AI tracking. Next up, I'm gonna try out the normal tracking versus Tracking Plus. So there's basically two different levels of accuracy that you can use. The first one is really easy to trigger. You just select your subject, like I'm doing here, hit record. All right, Mike, you wanna walk around for me? This is just normal tracking. You can just walk normally, you don't have to walk slow. There we go, move over here. All the way over there, look at that. Okay, looking great. Coming back this way. All right, so this is normal tracking. Effortless to set up, as you saw, just one little swipe. With Mike still selected, I'm gonna enable Tracking Plus. This is a more accurate way of tracking, but the gimbal must be on a tripod while it's tracking. So you don't wanna do this handheld. It has to be freestanding on a tripod. Mike is gonna try to leave the frame, okay? Try to trick the tracking, go. Now I'm gonna try out AI Auto Zoom. So I'm gonna click AI Auto Zoom. We're zoomed in. And now, Mike, change your distance from the camera. So just walk back, walk forward. So now as Mike is walking, we're seeing the zoom automatically adjust itself to keep him the same size in the frame. So if you don't wanna crop and zoom your video in post, you can use AI Auto Zoom instead. And it will attempt to keep your subject the same size at all times in the frame. So let's say you want to use the tracking of the Flow 2, but you don't want to use the Insta360 app because you've got your own favorite app you want to use. Well, you can take advantage of Apple's Dockkit on iPhones and use that to track you instead. So all you have to do to start the tracking is frame up your subject. In this case, I'm filming a selfie, and then press the trigger of the gimbal once. And now it's tracking me. So now I'm able to keep myself framed as I walk effortlessly using the Dockkit tracking. I'm not even paying attention to where I'm framing, not looking at the lens at all, not looking at the LCD at all. So this is an easy way to film yourself using the native app without having to frame yourself carefully. Now you should be aware that this is not the best tracking that you're gonna get from the gimbal. This is just your best option if you want to either use the native Apple camera app or you want to use a third-party app like Blackmagic Camera and you still want tracking. There's another type of tracking you can use if you want to zoom in on your subject from far away. It's called active zoom. So I'm using it right now in combination with Tracking Plus. So basically you just have to select your subject, select Tracking Plus, and select active zoom. This, again, requires a tripod, but it will give you very accurate tracking, even if I'm moving really fast or doing something erratic and unpredictable. So you can zoom in up to 15x. Right now we're just using the 5x zoom, but active zoom is great for filming yourself playing sports or filming someone else who's just really far away. When you track your subject, you don't have to keep them in the perfect center of the frame if that's not what you want. So here I've set up a beautiful composition with Kobe on the left side of my frame and sort of lower in the frame, and I'd like to keep it that way. But look what happens when I select her for tracking. By default, it will move her to the center. That's not what I want. All I have to do is select Pro Framing Grid, and then it will give me a grid. You can see it more clearly here. And I can select any of these quadrants, and it will move Kobe to that part of the frame. So in this case, maybe left center would be the best. Let's try that. Now, if I want to refine this a bit further, I just use the joystick and get her exactly where I want her in the frame, maybe even more off to the side. Looks good to me. And then if Kobe moves around, will you go ahead and stand up and walk for me? She will stay offset as she moves. So this is a great way to get very particular compositions while still using the tracking. One question you might have is, how do I start the tracking if I'm filming myself solo and I don't have anybody else to touch the screen for me? The Flow 2 has a gesture control feature that automatically starts tracking and recording once it recognizes a gesture. So in this case, I'm just gonna hold my hand up like this, and then it starts recording, and now it is tracking me and it's filming. And then whenever I'm ready for it to stop recording, I can just hold my hand up again and it will stop. And then I can film my own cinematic vlog and it will track me, and I don't need anybody else to trigger anything for me. I can also trigger the recording independent of the tracking. So if I don't want it to track, I just hold up 2 fingers like this, recognizes the 2 fingers, and now it's filming me without tracking. So this is good for just static tripod shots. There's a feature of the Flow 2 that I want to talk about that fixes something that has always annoyed me with smartphone gimbals, and that is the limitations on tilting. So if I want to get a shot, let's say, of this umbrella, and I want to smoothly crane the camera up and down all the way to the ground, look what happens. With most smartphone gimbals, this arm will get in the way, and then it will force the gimbal to tilt down, even if I don't want it to. That's why the Flow 2 has this new mode called free tilt. So I'll show you how you enter it real quick. You extend out your selfie stick as much as you want. It doesn't have to be all the way. And then there's a hinge up here. You can see it right there. So you angle that down 90 degrees, and then you rotate it 90 degrees, like I just did. Double click the trigger, and it will reset itself into free tilt. Now, if I hold down the trigger and lock everything, I can freely tilt 360 degrees actually, and it won't be forced to tilt down or up at any point. So now I can do my umbrella shot again, and the gimbal will face forward the entire time. Or let's say I want to frame up the logo, then I just move the camera by hand and then hold down the trigger, center it, and then I can lower down as much as I want without worrying about losing my tilt. To exit free tilt mode, you do need to be a little bit careful so that you don't physically damage the gimbal. So first, you want to rotate the head back to where it was, and then angle it back up like that, and then collapse the selfie stick, and then you can turn your gimbal off. All right, I'm out of here. If you want to learn more about the Insta360 Flow 2, the link will be in the description of this video. Otherwise, please click like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.